What's up, Crackle Addicts? I'm Lupine Fiasco, this is Daily Fab Gameplay, and I have been loving Silver Age. Compared to the triangle meta of Classic Constructed and whatever is happening in Living Legend, Silver Age is a fun, fresh format where, at the moment, every hero is viable, everyone is brewing, and everyone is having a great time, myself included. But if you haven't dived in yet, maybe all you need is a deck to get you started. What I have for you today is an Aurora deck tech. I'll break down the 55 cards that I'm playing in the list, why I'm playing them, as well as include some gameplay from one of my recent live streams that will show off the power and flexibility of the deck. Before I get into that, if you haven't already done so, please let me request that you subscribe to my channel. It's the best free way to support me and to make sure that you see every new upload from Daily Fab Gameplay. My video description has a link to my Blue Sky, my Discord, and my Patreon, as well as a link to this deck with matchup guides. If you are still experimenting with Classic Constructed or Living Legend, looking for the hero that you should play in Philadelphia next month, let me direct you to Fablazing.com, where you can find the most up-to-date tournament and Talishar data to support matchup win rates and what cards specifically affect matchup win rates the most. Want to tighten and optimize your gameplay in real life? Buy your very own Codex journal using my affiliate link in the video description, and be sure to use code LUPINE10, that's LUPINE10, at checkout to receive 10% off your order. Finally, Daily Fab Gameplay is brought to you in part by Hemel from the Bazaar. It's never been more affordable to play in the flesh and blood. Players have been buying the cards they need from Hemel for years. I started buying from him in 2023 and have never found a better deal. The Bazaar's prices are the lowest for singles, full sets, and class sets, including new releases. Super Slam singles and more are available now and ship both domestically and internationally. Keep watching this intro for contact information, and then reach out to Hemel on Blue Sky, Discord, email, or Twitter to see what he can do for you. Now, let's get into it. So first thing, we are playing Aurora. She is a elemental Runeblade hero with Essence of Lightning, meaning that we can play Lightning and Runeblade cards in both our equipment slots and our deck. She has an ability where you can pay 2 resources. If you've played a Lightning card this turn, you create an Embodiment of Lightning token. Embodiment of Lightning token says that the next attack action card we play gets Go Again. We are not playing Aurora for her ability. We are playing her for her elemental Runeblade with Essence of Lightning, though compared to a Briar, we will use her ability more often than you would think for a deck with no blues in it. That said, you are not looking to maximize your hero power every turn. As far as our equipment, we're playing Blade Beckoner Helm, Garland of Spring, Bracers of Belief, Quick Clicks, and for the weapon, we are playing Starfall. Why are we playing these pieces of equipment? Aurora, for all of her strengths, doesn't get to play the very good Runeblade equipment because Aurora, like Briar, and unlike Viserai, Chain, Vincent, and Florian, does not inherently benefit from rune chants. We could be playing equipment that would make rune chants, or sacrifice auras to generate resources, or even pay a resource to get Go Again if we played an attack action and non-attack action card in the same turn. But Aurora doesn't really do any of that. She doesn't benefit from rune chants besides just dealing 1 point of arcane, and she isn't playing the blues to justify Sutcliffe's Suede Hides. So we're playing equipment that plays to Aurora's strengths, or at least gets her a minimum of 2 points of value. Why is it important that you get 2 points of value? Because of your Blade Beckoner equipment. Blade Beckoner equipment exists in every equipment slot. This one's Japanese, but it is shiny. What Blade Beckoner equipment does is block for 1 with Guardwell, meaning that it will lose a point of block value for as much as it just blocked. If it is blocking a weapon, it will block for an extra 1. So Blade Beckoner blocks a weapon for 2 and then doesn't block anymore, or it blocks a non-weapon attack for 1, then a weapon attack for 1. Every slot has a Blade Beckoner piece of equipment, and every hero can play with Blade Beckoner equipment. So the floor of any piece of equipment you play in Silver Age needs to be 2. If you aren't often getting 2 points of value from your equipment, you should just play Blade Beckoner. That's why we're using Blade Beckoner Helm. The Lightning Runeblade heroes don't have a good enough head slot to justify not playing Blade Beckoner Helm. We're playing Garland of Spring. This could easily be Blossom of Spring if you don't happen to have a Garland. The important part is that as an action, we destroy the Garland, gain a resource, and refresh our action point. The 2 points of value we get in Aurora is using the resource to pay for a Starfall attack. Starfall attacks for 2 with Go Again, though as you'll see, we have other options for Garland as well. Bracers of Belief in a deck like Aurora, which only plays reds, will always reveal a red, which means that your attack action card will always get +2 power. That's the 2 points of value we get compared to a Blade Beckoner. But when we're combining Bracers of Belief with something like a Burn Up Shock or a Snatch, we are often getting more than 2 from the +2 of Bracers of Belief. Quick Clicks will give us Go Again if we played Nimblism in the turn. It's hard to really quantify the value of Go Again, but considering that Aurora's hero power will make Go Again for 2 resources, we can value Quick Clicks at 2. But just like Bracers of Belief, if we're combining that with something like a Snatch or a Burn Up Shock on a big turn, then we are getting more than just those 2 points of value. Finally, we're playing Starfall because I have a gold foil. Finally, we're playing Starfall because it also has Go Again. If we have a hand that is something like a Lightning Starter and 3 cards without Go Again, we can play our Lightning Starter, play Starfall by pitching one of our cards without Go Again, then attack with the 3rd card in hand and arsenal the 4th. Starfall works uniquely with Aurora and Briar to turn hands without Go Again into turns with Go Again. Starfall alone does this. We don't get this effect from Reaping Blade or from Nebula Blade or even from Galaxy Black that we see the other Rune Blades playing, so we are running Starfall. Let's talk about the next most important piece of card tech in Aurora, which is your Lightning Starters. Your Lightning Starters are cards with the Lightning type that you can play to give your Starfall Go Again, regardless of what else you're doing in the turn. The 6 cards, of which we are playing 2 copies each, that act as Lightning Starters are Weave Lightning, Sizzle, Lightning Surge, Fry, Burn Up Shock, and Electrostatic Discharge. Weave Lightning and Sizzle almost do the same exact thing, which is give your next Lightning or Elemental attack card. Sizzle gives attack, period, +3 for the turn. Weave Lightning says that if you fused it, it gets Go Again. That very rarely comes up. We do have exactly one use case for Weave Lightning gives something Go Again that wouldn't normally have it. But for the most part, we are playing it for the +3. Sizzle, I would say, is better most of the time because Sizzle, being an lightning or elemental attack, will affect your Starfall. Weave Lightning will not. Weave Lightning cannot affect your weapon, though this does mean that depending on how your turn plays out, you could sequence a bit more advantageously by playing Weave Lightning, then attacking with Starfall to mask what the Weave Lightning is actually affecting. Lightning Surge gets Go Again if it's played from Arsenal. This is maybe a half enabler. If it doesn't come from Arsenal, if it comes from hand, then it isn't necessarily a Lightning Starter, but it is a starter enough of the time that I'm including it as one of your Lightning Starters. Fry is just a starter. It has Go Again, it attacks for 3, it blocks for 0. This usually won't be a problem. We are an aggressive deck, we aren't trying to block. Fry will turn on your Starfall and get your turn started. Burn Up Shock is a Lightning Starter at times, but that isn't really why it's in the deck. Burn Up Shock is the best card in our deck. It does everything we want in Aurora. It does 1 point of arcane damage at instant speed. This can be relevant if your opponent doesn't have arcane barrier and is at 1 point of health. You can just kill them on their turn. It turns on second strike that we'll get to in a bit. And burn up will do 4 points of arcane damage if any of our attacks this turn hit. Attacks include your Starfall. So what Aurora is really trying to do with Burn Up Shock, yes, it can unclunk a hand if you draw Burn Up Shock with 3 other cards that don't have Go Again, but we want to be setting up big 5-card hands with Burn Up Shock so that we can push the Burn Up effect through. It is the best card in Aurora's deck, and it is what we are really trying to maximize value from. Finally, we have Electrostatic Discharge. Compared to a Weave Lightning or a Sizzle that you would play before attacking with your Starfall, you can attack with Starfall first, then use Electrostatic Discharge. Because this is Silver Age and Aurora doesn't have access to Channel Lightning Valley, we don't get the same outplay potential that we saw in Classic Constructed when you could attack with a Starfall, bluffing whether it's Electrostatic Discharge or Channel Lightning Valley, and punishing your opponent who chooses incorrectly. But it is still a Lightning starter, and in a format where we don't get to play Channel Lightning Valley, that is more than good enough for us. These are your 12 Lightning starters. I value them very highly. Let's talk about cards that aren't Lightning starters, but either have Go Again or can easily get Go Again. Those are Flittering Charge, Entwine Lightning, Lightning Press, sort of an asterisk, Nimblism, Ravenous Rabble, Scar for a Scar, and let's put Second Strike here. We'll move Lightning Press off to the side and talk about that on its own. These are cards that either easily get Go Again or have it naturally. Cards that have it naturally would be Ravenous Rabble. Because our entire deck is filled with red pitch cards, Ravenous Rabble will only ever attack for 4 with Go Again. Nimblism is a 0 for 3 with Go Again. It has to buff an attack, so it can't be the only card in your hand, and it doesn't affect your Starfall, but it does let you use your Quick Clicks, and Nimblism combined with any other attack in the deck is just a 0 for 3. We have Entwine Lightning, which I would put in the same category as Ravenous Rabble and Nimblism. This will have Go Again most of the time. We have a large density of Lightning cards in the deck. You should always be able to Lightning Fuse with Entwine Lightning, but even if you can't, it's still a 0 for 4. Flittering Charge can be given Go Again with Electrostatic Discharge, Lightning Press, and in a pinch, the shock half of Burn Up Shock. Though for the most part, if you would need to use Burn Up Shock to give Flittering Charge Go Again rather than threaten the Burn Up half of it, you might want to consider how you are playing out that hand. Second Strike should have Go Again most of the time, though this is very contingent on what else is in our hand. This is where the shock half of Burn Up Shock can really come into play, as many of our opponents won't be playing Arcane Barrier, and even those that do might not want to pitch to Arcane Barrier if they are also thinking that they're going to have to block out the Burn Up effect this turn. But Second Strike can be a little unreliable. You might need to soul read your opponent on if the damage is actually going to connect. Be aware that you can always shock yourself. If you really, really need Second Strike to have Go Again, Shock can target any hero, and Second Strike just requires that you've dealt damage this turn. So you can always shock yourself if you really need Second Strike to have Go Again, and don't think that you'll be able to deal damage with the shock or with anything preceding Second Strike. Finally, we'll talk about Lightning Press. This isn't a Lightning starter or even a Lightning extender in the same way that Electrostatic Discharge or Sizzle is, because Lightning Press needs a target, and that target needs to already have Go Again. So let's say that you were going to play Scar for a Scar. Your opponent had less life than you, so the Scar for a Scar does not get Go Again, and you Lightning Press the Scar for a Scar. This is not a Lightning starter or even a Lightning extender, because you are not giving the Scar for a Scar Go Again. It doesn't have Go Again. You aren't benefiting from having played a Lightning card for your Starfall. But let's say that you attack with Entwine Lightning, you fuse the Lightning Press so that Entwine Lightning gets Go Again, and then you play Lightning Press targeting Entwine Lightning. Now your Starfall has Go Again because you've played a Lightning card, and the attack that you are targeting with a Lightning Press has Go Again you're refreshing your action point. Starfall will refresh your action point, and Lightning Press has acted as a Lightning starter. Note that Lightning Press can only target attack action cards. It cannot target Starfall. I didn't talk about Scar for a Scar. This is your 0 for 4. It has Go Again if you have less life remaining than your opponent. If a Scar for a Scar is in your hand, you may need to really track how much damage your opponent is threatening this turn, and if you think that you could either block or more specifically not block in order to reduce your life total below that of your opponent so that you can get Go Again on your Scar. Finally, we'll talk about the main board cards that don't have Go Again. Some of them, On the Horizon and Citadel of Suffering, sort of act as replacing your action point because they get 4 points of value without using your action point. But most of the other cards that we're going to talk about here, with the exception of Skizik, really need to be given Go Again in some way. Strike that. Skizik, of course, needs to be given Go Again. We're playing On the Horizon and Sigil of Suffering. Sigil of Suffering, a classic constructed playable card while Aurora was legal, and On the Horizon taking the place of Sink Below and Shelter from the Storm, which are not legal in Silver Age. These are here because, for the most part, they get 4 points of value and don't use your action point. You're using them defensively rather than offensively. On the Horizon is a strict 4 points of block value. When it defends, you look at the top card of your deck. Very rarely is that relevant in Aurora, but there may be times where knowing what the top card of your deck is can influence if you're going to arsenal a card or not. Sigil of Suffering gets 3 points of block value if your opponent cannot pay for the Arcane Barrier, and Sigil of Suffering deals its 1 point of arcane damage. It will actually block for 4. So Sigil of Suffering, along with Burn Up Shock, are the 0 for 5s that Aurora plays in her deck, but be aware that if your opponent pitches a blue, attacks with a 2 for 6, and has Null Rune, gloves, boots, head, whatever, your Sigil of Suffering will probably only block for 3. It is unlikely that your opponent would need that 1 point of resource for anything else, so just be aware of that. As far as the other 5 quote-unquote finishers in our deck, these are just very solid cards with very solid effects. Skizik is a 0 for 4 if we can get it Go Again in some way. That includes Embodiment of Lightning or Quick Clicks if we pair a Nimblism with Skizik. Arcanic Shockwave is often a 0 for 5. It attacks for 4. We Lightning Fuse. It deals 1 point of arcane damage to target hero. This could be yourself if you really needed to take a point of damage for second strike, but more often we are throwing Arcanic Shockwave at our opponent, shooting them for 1 point of arcane, attacking for 4, and then arsenaling whatever the lightning card was that we fused. Lightning Form is a card that I never played in Classic Constructed, but have been very happy with in Silver Age. Because of the ubiquity of Blade Beckoner equipment, breaking your Garland of Spring to attack with Starfall for 2 is kind of hit or miss. If they have a fresh piece of Blade Beckoner equipment, and you're on your big burn-up shock turn, you really can't expect the Starfall to connect like you could expect Lightning Form to connect. It attacks for 5, meaning that On the Horizon or any 4-block defense reaction or even 4-block card won't cover the Lightning Form. You're either getting a piece of equipment or your opponent is giving you 2 cards from hand, and Lightning Form has a very relevant ability. We usually aren't pitching for Embodiment of Lightning with Aurora. Lightning Form, if it hits, will just give you an Embodiment of Lightning. This is, in my opinion, one of the best ways to use your Garland of Spring in Aurora. I'm really fond of Lightning Form. It's a great target for your Bracers of Belief in order to get more than just the 2 points of value. Speaking of getting more than 2 points of value from Bracers of Belief, we have Static Shock and Snatch. We'll talk about Snatch first. Definitely one of, if not the best attack in Silver Age. 0 for 4, when it hits, you draw a card. If this is the last thing you do in a turn, then you draw a card from the Snatch and put it right into your arsenal. That is a great way to eke additional value out of your cards. Bracers of Belief, making this a 0 for 6, might not present any new breakpoints, but in certain matchups where your opponent is playing a number of 2 blocks, that can get an entire extra card out of them. I love Snatch. It's a great chain ender, just like Static Shock, When this hits, if you've played a lightning card this turn, deal 1 point of damage to the hero you are attacking. Static Shock, at the end of a chain where you have played a lightning card, maybe worked a Starfall into your turn, then attack with Static Shock. If it hits, it's 0 for 5. You can play Static Shock without having played a lightning card for the turn. Your opponent says no blocks. You lightning press the Static Shock, and now the lightning flow effect is on. Static Shock was a playable card in Classic Constructed, is a playable card in Silver Age. Any of these are great cards to end your turn on. Skizzik, of course, if you can give it a go again, you are extending your turn. But Shockwave, Arsenal, the lightning card you fused, Lightning Form, generate an embodiment of lightning, Static Shock, deal 1 point of arcane damage, and Snatch, drawing you a card, are really, really great ways to deal damage, eke out additional value, force blocks from your opponent, put them on the back foot, and ultimately win a game of Flesh and Blood. Those are the 40 cards that I like to play in most matchups, but of course, with Silver Age having a 55 card deck limit, we have plenty of room for extra equipment and sideboard tech. There is a Fabry deck list in the description of this video with matchup guides included, so you can see where I am boarding in Arcane Polarity, Harness Lightning, Heaven's Claws, Sigil of Lightning, Crown of Dichotomy, and Spellfray Gloves. I'll just briefly run through them here. Arcane Polarity, we're playing in any matchup where you are going to take arcane damage. This is usually your non-Aurora or Briar Runeblades. It can also be Wizard. And in those matchups, is probably replacing On the Horizon, trading the 0 for 4 block with 0 for 4 life gain. Harness Lightning is a card that I am testing, and so far I've really liked against Guardian and Fatigue Warrior. That means Olympia. If your opponent is on Decimator Great Axe, you will want to play Harness Lightning. Most of these really defensive decks are only playing Arcane Barrier 1 against Aurora because she usually will only deal 1 point of arcane damage with Shock or Static Shock or Arcanic Shockwave. So Harness Lightning dealing 3 points of arcane damage at once means that your opponent is going to take 2 points of arcane damage, and if they've let themselves get low enough at the end of the game because they didn't expect you to be able to deal damage through their arcane barrier, they might have just gotten low enough that Harness Lightning kills them, and you get to do it twice. Heaven's Claws and Sigil of Lightning are both here really just for Icelander, as the fact that she is giving you Frostbites both on her turn and yours means that you would need to be pitching reds in order to play your reds. That means you're getting 2 card 4s. That's very bad. So you want Heaven's Claws and Sigil of Lightning to be able to pay through any potential Frostbites. Heaven's Claws has the advantage of blocking for 3 if you ever need to block but don't need to pitch. Sigil of Lightning can bank you. Embodiment of Lightning can also turn on Flittering Charge because you will have played an instant for the turn, and both of them, if you have played a Lightning starter, let you pitch to Starfall, then use your floating 2 resources to activate Aurora. Finally, we have Crown of Dichotomy and Spellfray Gloves, really both, again, for Icelander. Spellfray Gloves is great because it is 1 point of arcane prevention, and you don't need to pay for it. I am playing this instead of my Bracers of Belief against Icelander because I'm bringing in blues, and if I don't know what the top of my deck is, but it could be a blue, that means that Bracers of Belief is potentially 0 points of value. That's frankly unacceptable. Spellfray Gloves is always going to be 1 point of value, and you don't need to pay for it. Crown of Dichotomy is here instead of Spellfray Tiara for the Icelander games where I go second, and she just does something arcane on turn 0. Rather than take all of that damage, Crown of Dichotomy lets me filter my hand a bit, lets me prevent some of that arcane damage. It could very well be that we need Crown of Dichotomy for heroes like Viserai, Chain, or Vincent, Florian, even heroes that stack Rune Chants, but so far I have had more luck just blowing up those heroes. Again, deck link in the video description below. That will give you more information on how and when I sideboard. What do I think of Aurora's position in the Silver Age meta? I think it's very good. I think that she needs some more equipment support Hopefully we will see that in set 18, Pen, where LSS has promised to print a lot of rare equipment. Aurora just doesn't benefit from any of the existing Runeblade equipment, and she really needs something to push her past having to play all of these generics, which, while admittedly fine, aren't as good as what we see in classes like Guardian, Ninja, or even your other more traditional Runeblades. She is a very strong, very aggressive, very fast deck. She has the ability to win races against other aggro decks. The fact that she has her hero power means that she can set up these very powerful turns against fatigue decks that aren't putting you under pressure. And I think she is just very solid. She was an extremely solid hero in Classic Constructed, good enough to the point that she hit Living Legend. She is going to be extremely solid in Silver Age. She might not be the most aggressive deck, and she might not win every aggro race, but she is going to present a level of flexibility that no other deck can compete with. I highly recommend Aurora. She is a very cheap deck to build with all of the support that she's gotten up until this point, and we know that LSS will be printing a new Aurora sometime in 2026, presumably with more support cards. Try Aurora, find the deck link in the video description, and coming up, please enjoy a game from one of my live streams where you will see the power and flexibility of this hero. Playing against Olympia, just run as is. Play whatever the ninja sideboard would be. I can't imagine that what Olympia does in Project Blue. That's why I'm excited to play this format, right? We're just doing open queue because I want to run into what people are doing. I want to run into the weird stuff that other people are up to. Decimator Olympia, so they're going to try to fatigue us. In with Crash Down the Gates. This is going to be attacking for 8. Showing our snatch, so we're not going to lose the snatch. How am I blocking this? I believe we could give our entire hand here. We could also give our Blade Beckoner in order to... I don't want to get hit by the Crash Down the Gates. But I also don't feel that I necessarily need to keep my Blade Beckoner. So we will block this out. I don't want to lose cards as much as possible. I also want to keep the Sizzle because it helps my hand convert. What does this hand do? This hand can send not a ton of damage, unfortunately. So I think what we might do here is play the Weave Lightning, play Entwine, fuse it with Sizzle, then pitch Sizzle to Starfall, and Arsenal the Snatch. Depends on what Olympia is doing. I do want to kind of play around fatigue here by optimizing my weapon as much as possible. The other problem with this hand is that Weave Lightning and Sizzle don't work on Snatch, so it isn't like I could stagger these or say, I'll send Entwine for 4 go again and then Snatch for 10. I could break Garland here to push the Starfall damage through, but I really don't want to do that because I need to save my equipment for a big pop-off turn. If Olympia is trying to be defensive, then I want to be prioritizing these 5-card hands that push Burn-Up Shock or some big amount of damage. So here we're just going to follow up with Starfall for 2 go again. Not planning to attack with Snatch, planning to Arsenal it, especially if Olympia is not giving us cards. And we'll just Arsenal this and pass. This hand is pretty okay. Coming in for 5, best damage we can take. What does this hand really do? This hand plays Burn Up Shock. We throw the Shock at Olympia. If Olympia wants to give us a full card with Null Rune Boots, that is okay with me. If the Burn Up Shock hits, that means Second Strike is online. So we can do something like Second Strike for 4, pitch Static Shock to Starfall for 2, Electrostatic Discharge Snatch. If Olympia does pitch to the Burn-Up Shock. Okay, Olympia does not. I'm not surprised by that. I do wish that this had Go Again, or I had a way to give it Go Again. Okay, Arcanic Polarity, gonna gain some life back. We'll send the second strike for 4, Go Again. Getting 2 cards out of Olympia. So if we attack with Starfall, I assume that Olympia just blocks with Galea. And then we're sending Snatch for 9. I don't know that that's going to be good enough. Because we would want to pop our Bracers of Belief for the Snatch. I do think that's what I should be doing here. Oh, or we just hit. Okay. Seems wrong. I'm expecting an undo from Olympia. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, like, there is a burn-up attached to this. Give me a card or your Galea. I'm not going to use my Bracers here because I would have to break the chain for that, and I don't want Olympia to have a point of armor block. But the fact that Olympia doesn't have armor left to block this means that he's either giving me 3 cards or taking damage. Oasis Respite, sure. Okay. All right, so the Bracers would have gotten us there, which is unfortunate. With this hand, we will just set up. I'm going to probably play Fry, close the chain, play Sizzle, pitch On the Horizon to Starfall. Dang, would have been good to know that the Braces of Belief would have gotten us there. I assumed Olympia just had 3 blocks. Close the chain, play the Sizzle, Starfall for 5, assuming we get a Blade Beckoner plating here to cover the 1. Olympia gets the last, quote-unquote charge out of it. And maybe another card just comes in with Dawnblade for 4, Decimator for 4. Sure. Close the chain, put the Skizzik in Arsenal, waiting on a Nimblism so that we can quick clicks it. There's a Nimblism. Non-equipment card, so you are going to have this to 2, and then the shock will bring it up to 3. I believe is how that works. Yes. Decimator is going to trigger, is going to bring it down to 3, and then we'll take 1. Arcane Polarity, okay, that's the last one. This hand is sort of unfortunate because we only have 4 cards. I'm not going to go with the Burn-Up Shock this turn. I want to set this up. But it's also kind of unfortunate that we are going to Nimblism use our quick clicks here. Because I want to clear out my arsenal. I don't want to take an intellect penalty this turn. So we're going to quick clicks. Going to Skizzik for 7 Go Again. And then probably pitch Second Strike into Starfall. We're definitely doing that if this gets blocked for 7, because Second Strike will only attack for 3. But I am, still trying to play around fatigue, try to manage deck count. We are definitely behind our Olympia opponent. And the fact that Olympia always has a 1-card 4 is a lot better than what we can do. Steel Blade Shunt, okay. In that case, I am going to Second Strike here. We're getting 4 points of damage instead of the 2 that I would get from Starfall. Also not giving Olympia the opportunity to block with armor here. Sure. takes 1. We arsenal our burn-up shock. And this hand does not convert well, unfortunately. So what I think we're gonna do is give Olympia some tempo here. I'm gonna play a Lightning Surge, and then I'm going to pitch 2 cards to Aurora's ability. And the question, I think it's gonna be Snatch that I keep, because I still have 2 Lightning Presses in my deck. So, attack with Lightning Surge. Unfortunately, none of our cards have Go Again, which is pretty unusual for this deck. I found that this deck generally does have enough Go Again to convert hands. But not seeing any of our instants is tough. Not seeing our remaining Fry. We still have 2 Ravenous Rabbles in our deck. Still have 1 Lightning Form, which is pretty cool because we have our Garland of Spring. Olympia just deciding how to deal with our attack here. Make an embodiment. This is specifically why I'm playing Aurora and not Briar. Because if we draw that hand in Briar, we just don't do it. We just send 4 and then IP 3. Whereas with Aurora, we can always pitch those 2 cards to make an embodiment, and now that embodiment is really going to help us this turn as we are looking to play Weave Lightning, Garland of Spring, Burn Up Shock, do both modes, Lightning Form for 8 Go Again, into Rabble, into Snatch. We just take the Decimator here. This is my big Burn Up Shock turn. I don't want to block with anything. Also, this hand does not block well. Break our bracers here. Break our Garland here. Weave Lightning first. Send Lightning Form for 10 Go Again. Olympia does have 1 point of block value left on the prized Galea. We're not going to give him the opportunity to use Blade Beckoner Plating here. And we have all of our on hits. So yeah, we're just sending this hand. This hand is presenting 22 points of damage. We've seen the 2 Arcane Polarities from Olympia. So putting him in a really bad spot for actually blocking this. I mean, this could be an unmovable from Arsenal, which would block 6. I'm assuming that we're going to see some on the horizons. So, you know, Olympia could block this, and if Olympia does block this turn out, then we probably just die, because this is our last big turn, and we still have to deal with the 1 card 4 every turn with Decimator. I wonder if there are any wager cards in Olympia's deck. Like, I gotta wonder why is... Oh, you play Olympia for the Galea. That's why you play Olympia instead of a, like, Decimator Dory. Because you want, yeah, because you get block 3 out of this, or like the reaction here, and that's how you get your gold. See what Olympia has lined up to deal with the Lightning Form. I would love if this Lightning Form hit. I'd love to bank an embodiment of Lightning for my next turn. If we had an embodiment of Lightning on our last hand, of course you're playing Sirens of Safe Harbor. God, Fatigue is so, ugh. I do not enjoy playing against Fatigue decks. Pitch a card from hand, play Oasis Respite. Would be really good for us. Would be insane. Right, unmovable. Surely giving Sirens here was not right, but, you know. Ooh, a Sigil of Suffering to put in our arsenal for me. Okay, we're evening up the life totals. Get to put Olympia to 8. We put a Sigil into our arsenal. And this hand converts, sort of. Oh, this hand does convert because Scar for a Scar has Go Again. This were to lower life total. So I don't know that we have a reason to stagger our Nimblism. I think we just play it. Send the Scar for 7, into Rabble for 4, into Flittering for 4. pushing, what is this, 15 damage this turn. We're not giving Olympia a chance to use Blade Beckoner, so he's going to have to give us 3 cards to not be dead. We're still sitting on the Sigil of Suffering, which, if Olympia can't keep a card to pitch to Arcane Barrier, means that he will be taking 4 from it, or 1 from it. We've not played a Lightning card this turn, so I'm not going to worry about pitching to Starfall. Battlefront Bastion prevents 1, takes 1. That is our... We do still have a Scar for a Scar in the deck, but I don't think that's a reason to hold this Flittering Charge. I think we just send it, because this is also damage prevention if Olympia blocks. Yep, put Olympia down to 6. So at this point, Olympia's just waiting for us to stumble. Thankfully, our deck doesn't do that, except for that one turn when it did. I think the line here is going to be Fry into Starfall, pitching Discharge into Scar, and just letting Olympia think that we stumbled, so that maybe Olympia takes extra damage from the Lightning Press. Fry probably gets covered by a 3-block. We keep a Discharge in our deck for our other attacks. Still waiting to draw our second on the horizon. That's fine. From the Starfall here, I could see this getting covered by the Blade Beckoner just to get the last point out of it, which I'm not overly concerned with. We haven't shown Olympia a Lightning Press yet. I wonder if he would think that we just don't have one. Battlefront Bastion, doing some good work there. So we'll send the Scar for a Scar, coming in for 4, Olympia preventing 1. If Olympia gets greedy and doesn't block this, we just win. If Olympia only blocks with a single card, then we are putting Olympia down to 3. If Olympia blocks again, then we just hold this Lightning Press. Yeah. Go ahead and press here. Not killing Olympia. This is dealing 4 points of damage, and then Olympia is going to gain 1 back, so still, going to 3. Hey, it's our on the horizon. So we now have an interesting choice. I believe because Olympia knows this is Sigil of Suffering, I assume he's just holding this instead of taking 1 unpreventable arcane damage. If that's a blue, Olympia can only pitch to Great Axe and then not pay to Null Rune Boots. So let's think about how we're going to use this hand. We do have the Lightning Press, which I am going to have to show Olympia. But it does put us into a really neat spot where I get to Entwine, Fuse Lightning Press, and then Olympia has to respect the Entwine Lightning. Then I get to Arcanic Shockwave, Fuse Lightning Press, deal another point of damage, and then I can play the press. On the horizon here is kind of a problem, because I cannot do anything with it. I can't, neither of these are lightning. So if I really wanted to convert this hand, I could press the Entwine Lightning, pitch on the horizon to Starfall, and then play Arcanic Shockwave. But I would rather keep the Arcanic to sort of incentivize Olympia to pitch. I don't have to fuse. This presents lethal damage. So I don't need to worry about pressing the Entwine Lightning until Olympia shows me what he's going to do. Shunt here covering 4 points of damage, so Lightning Press still lethal. And because Lightning Press is still lethal, I'm thinking I might want to play it here so that I can convert this hand. And because Olympia is now floating resources, I'm going to press the Entwine. Second Steel Blade Shunt, that's fine with me. We will send Starfall for 2, which could get covered by the Blade Beckoner. Covered by a full card from hand. Interesting spot for us to be in. I think I still send this. And Olympia takes 1 if he blocks with a 3. I guess we haven't seen the second Oasis Respite. Takes 2, goes down to 1. It's pretty good. So this Sigil of Suffering is now lethal damage. He almost sure had 2 D-reacts. I could, yeah. I still think it was right to do what we did, force the second D-react, and then also, you know, in hindsight, hey, we put Olympia down to 1. As far as converting this hand, we have 3 cards that I should know what they are, but I don't. We don't have a Burn Up Shock. We have no more pumps except for this Sizzle. We have the Sigil of Suffering and Arsenal, so that is a... I'm thinking, please bear with me. We have... Weird. Interesting. I'm going to play the Sizzle. I don't know why I did that. We will send Starfall for 5 go again. This will get covered by Blade Beckoner and possibly Oasis. What do we have in our deck? We have 1 more Arcanic Shockwave, which should come in handy. So what we could do here is pitch our 2 Static Shocks to Aurora. I think that's better. Olympia can't just dump his hand because we have our Sigil of Suffering and he's at 1. So if he like plays a Sharpened Steel. Yep, we wanted the Embodiment of Lightning. So we can block with On the Horizon. No, I guess we don't want to. Sorry, we're gonna take 4, we're gonna go to 3. I guess I can block with Blade Beckoner. We take 3, we go to 4, we play Arcanic Shockwave, fuse with Electrostatic Discharge, get a card from Olympia, get more cards on the block, play Electrostatic Discharge, pitch On the Horizon for Starfall Lightning Surge, and then we just win the game. Still putting Olympia into a position where he needs to sandbag a card every turn, or else we just kill him with Sigil. And banking this Embodiment of Lightning was really nice because now we get to actually play out this entire hand. So we are going to go ahead and Arcanic Shockwave. I'll actually fuse this with Lightning Surge. Olympia can tell what our last card is just based on looking at our deck and seeing, what are there not 2 copies of in here? Oasis Respite, pretty nice. Gain a life, prevent the Arcane, and prevent the 4. That's pretty good. Go ahead and send the Starfall for 1. This is going to get the Blade Beckoner plating, which will put Olympia down to 1. And then Lightning Surge for 7. Should be enough to get us there, unless this is D-React 3 block. But even then, we're still in a position where, okay, here's 1 damage every turn. Do you have the D-React? No, so we get there.